I actually saw a tweet from you first this morning. We're going to talk about what's going on. If you're thinking GameStop, Wall Street, what the hell? We're about to break it down for you. And I saw your tweet this morning. It was one of the first things I woke up to. And I'll give a shout out to a friend of the show who's also been on the show, Zach Funk, very funny comedian. Last night, he tagged me in a post and he's like, Ron, you got to look into this. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, Justin, it was late at night. I just partook in some cannabis. I was about to go to bed. And I just see this thing and it just says GameStop and stocks. And I'm like, later.
Yeah, me too. I was on the same way.
I didn't know what it was. I see GameStop and I'm like, whatever. Then I wake up this morning, I see your tweet and I see some other tweets and I'm like, what is going on? And I look into it and I'll ask you this first before we break it down for everyone. How hard did you laugh at all this?
Oh man, it's so funny, and the meltdown from all these rich billionaire elite, people, hedge fund managers that are shorting stuff. Like there's no sympathy out there for these people, and that's what's funny about it. It's like they want sympathy. It's like no one has sympathy for you. You're a hedge fund. You guys get rich off of every crisis. Like no one has any sympathy for you. So it's like it's honestly fun that we can be back to like the left, like making fun of the elites, right? Like we're not like fighting each other and all this type of stuff. We're just all together like shitting on elites, and that's the most fun part about it all.
We're just trying to be honest white collar criminals, and these subredditors are being mean to us.
They're being mean, and we need the government to help us from this one subreddit. Like it's hilarious, honestly. But it's a show of power, though. It's a show of power,
right? All right, so let's break it down because this is this isn't something that's in the common vernacular. I watched a few videos on it to kind of get a better grasp on it myself. So here's a very basic nuts and bolts. This is what's happening. So in Wall Street, there's a thing called short selling, which is where somebody will borrow stocks. So they didn't actually pay for them. They just borrowed it. Then they sell it right away. And what they're doing is they're betting on the stock to fail. So we'll use me as an example. All right, I'm a random dude, and I borrow a stock for $10, and I immediately sell it for $10 because what I'm hoping happens is that stock goes down, and it goes down to like $1, and then I say, oh, I better pay for what I borrowed, but I only have to pay $1 now because the stock's worth $1. So I sold it for 10, paid off my loan for $1. So I made $9. That's pretty cool, and I can save up for my Justin Jackson jersey, whatever it is I'm looking to do. Right. I made $9, but let's say this is a big gamble because let's say the stock actually goes up. Well, then I have to maybe lose some money. Maybe it goes up to $15, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna lose $5 on this. And now I have an advisor typically who's in my ear about all this because he's like, Ron Placone, $10 stock. He's a big spender. He's a worthwhile client, and he's advising me, and he's saying, okay, you better sell here. It's you're going to lose $5, but that's the name of the game. Now, let's say a big group of subredditors or whoever they are, they catch on to my grift, and they know what I'm doing in this particular moment. They know it's something that goes on, but they catch me directly, and they say, fuck this guy's $10, and they all buy the stock, and that causes the price to go up because everyone's wanting to buy it. There's only stocks available. Price goes up. If no one wants it, price goes down. So they buy all this stock. It goes way up, and one morning, all of a sudden, this stock that I unloaded for $10 and haven't actually paid off what I borrowed yet, now it's worth $100, and I'm out $90, and my advisor couldn't have done anything about it because we all woke up to this news. That's what happened today, essentially. An angry mob on Reddit. Here's the headline.
Angry mob.
Yeah. So a subreddit group called Wall Street Buyers, they caught people doing this with GameStop, but it wasn't just one dude with $10. It was all these hedge fund managers, as you pointed out, Justin, and they bet a lot. So they got caught because now there's more tools available for people who aren't billionaires, basically. There's the Robinhood app and all these other things. I don't know all the bells and whistles of what's involved with that. Do you invest at all? Like, are you hip to that world? Or
no, I'm not. I remember when cryptos were going crazy and I was in college. A lot of my teammates downloaded that Robinhood app. So that's really the only like knowledge I really have of that, because I don't do any like personal trading of stocks like that daily. I don't really do that, so I don't know much about it. But yeah, that's pretty much my extent of knowledge on it.
Yeah, I mean, me too. So like I'm just a very simple. This is what happened. So this subreddit group got together and they saw people doing this, and these were hedge fund managers basically putting it all into GameStop, thinking GameStop's going to fail because I mean, look, this is GameStop. I've heard it described as this, and I think this is very fair. It is the Blockbuster video for video games.
Yes, 100%.
Right. So that are you a gamer at all? Are you hip to that world?
I when I was younger, I was a huge gamer, and I used to. I mean, GameStop, that's where I went. So but I know it's because you can download games straight off of the internet now. It's a lot less, like you said. It's like Blockbuster. You can just pretty much download it straight to your console, and you don't need to go to GameStop anymore to get it.
You know, I was always the kid who was the most popular guy to play video games with because I was the kid. Video games always, even at a young age, for some reason, gave me a headache. I couldn't do it. It would give me a migraine. So I was always the kid who was happy to just sit and watch and talk to his friends. So I was everybody's best friend because they're like, Ron never wants to play.
Yeah, you're never taking up a spot.
I never took up a spot. So when it was like just 2-player only, I would advise on strategy. You know, if it was, especially if it was like a sports game, I'd be like, you should, put in a new pitcher or run the ball or whatever. But, I never wanted to play. So I was everybody's best friend. They're like, Ron's just happy to just be hanging out with people. He doesn't ever said why I didn't want to play. They always just thought I was weird and didn't want to play.
I mean, that's okay though. Is you're in there, you're chilling, hanging out with everybody, but you're also not taking up the spot. So,
that's right.
It's not a bad spot position, like you said. Everyone likes it because of it.
So this subreddit group called Wall Street Buyers, they all got together and they realized these people were doing this. These hedge fund managers were just putting all this money. So GameStop stock was about $2.50 a share about a year ago. Check this out. This is what it's at right now. This is in real time. It's at $325. So all these people who made these bets, like we talked about in the scenario, they wake up one morning and all of a sudden they got to pay what they borrowed. And now it's at $323.87. So you can watch it in real time, but it's up well over 100%. So basically they're screwed. Oh, and if you'll notice this, I'm not a financial expert. Neither is Justin. Neither of us are stock market people. But you notice a lot of stuff is going down because one part of Wall Street that I think is pretty common vernacular, confidence. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't have confidence right now because a bunch of folks on Reddit just made life a big headache for a bunch of hedge fund people. And if they can do this, it will. Holy shit.
It's scalable. And I think one thing that's funny is that, all these people are claiming it's market manipulation when the same hedge fund people will go on a CNBC or something and scream that they're shorting the stock and make the stock plummet so they can make money, which is rank market manipulation. They do the same thing. They're just mad that someone did it to them and now they're suffering because of it. That's one thing. Another thing is, I mean, that's like you said, that's all the stock market is confidence, right? So like, why did the Fed prop up at the beginning of this pandemic, prop up the stock market with all this money, right? Is to make sure that people don't start selling off their stock and that the stock market doesn't plunge. So when it is socialism for these corporations, right? So that they can maintain confidence in the stock market. And that's why you see the stock market ascending as we're essentially in a depression, right? And so if they can do this, I mean, that's why I tweeted like this is almost like a digital age strike, right? Because it's like if they can do this and they're like, oh, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this until you give us X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying? Like they should be making some demand, but like, I mean, obviously it's not organized right now. But
I don't know a whole lot about that subreddit. Yeah, but I mean, I guess the one thing we do know is it's at least one of the headlines I read, it's generally like millennials and Z that's involved in this subreddit that kind of collaborated together to make this happen. And it's and you tweeted this too, and this is another interesting part of all this is there's already been grumblings about these people, these hedge fund people who lost everything by their own gambling, getting a bailout. There's already grumblings of that. And I think as of the recording of this, nothing's been determined there. But if they do,
So it'll be coming soon.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And first of all, here's a couple things. Keep your eye out for what they try to distract us about. Because if they do this, they are going to want a public not paying attention. There's going to be something else. And now that Trump's not tweeting and he's not president, I don't know what that something is going to be for them. But they're going to have to find something.
Oh, yeah. And then they'll do it in the dark of night before you get your COVID check.
Oh yeah. Before you're awake, it'll be in a bill that's 5,000 pages that nobody's actually read, and they'll just push it through. Meanwhile, they're telling you that they can't manage $1,400, which, by the way, isn't the $2,000 they promised you.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, this is. But you know what? This is. There is some poetic justice here.
It is, and it's really important because it shows that once you disrupt capital, and I mean, Wall Street is capital, right? It's like the quintessential, like symbolic capital, and obviously not symbolic, very literally capital. And if you disrupt that, like things can change quickly. A lot, like you see BLM protests all summer, right? We're protesting all summer, thousands and hundreds of thousands of people across the country. What did we get legislatively that changed? Nothing, right? But when when Wall Street was failing and all these corporations were going under, what did they get within 2 weeks? Trillions of dollars, right?
Trillions.
So when you disrupt capital, that's when things change quickly. And I think that's something that this, is very telling, and it shows that.
Well, and it also speaks to the complete unsustainability of our system. I mean, it's so interesting. You can read. Like you read a philosopher like Proudhon or anyone like that. They warned against ever creating anything like Wall Street. They did not use the word Wall Street because it wasn't a thing. But what they did say was that you should never have a scenario where you're putting capital on top of capital and you're just relying on other capital. That's going to eat itself. And don't do that ever. What does that sound like? That's Wall Street. That's what Wall Street is. And because of all the bullshit that we just described in my, $10 scenario, which of course the numbers are way higher, that's just an example for simplicity's sake, all of that bullshit does generate a bunch of capital. And what do these hedge fund people use to manipulate all this bullshit? Your money, our money, the public's money. Every single dollar can be traced back to the public's money, and Wall Street is worth about a quadrillion. A quadrillion. Can you? I wouldn't be able to write that number right now if somebody asked me to. I know it's a thing because I know that's what Wall Street is potentially worth, a quadrillion, which means giving us all a UBI during a pandemic, actually looking out for people during a pandemic, it would be like if you and I were in Santa Monica hanging out and I took my finger and licked it and put it in the sand and walked away with it. The amount of sand that I took from that coastline would be like giving everybody a UBI for all of what Wall Street's worth. And that's what our government's telling us they just can't do. They just can't do it.
We can't afford it. We can't afford this. We can't afford that. That's all they ever parrot out. But watch them afford this bailout. They about to get these hedge fund managers.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make